Hey, welcome to Dad Surviving Divorce. I'm Dwayne, and I wanted to talk a little bit today about the struggles of going through this entire process. So I'm just going to jump right into it. And one of the things that's really important on all of this, and it's kind of depressing, so bear with me on this because I'm going to go through a bunch of different stuff, and then at the end, I think it'll all wrap together. So stick around for that, especially if you're starting to get a little frustrated with this entire video. So bottom line is there are no guarantees on how this is going to work out. Now, in my story that you guys heard in other videos, I've had a pretty good outcome. But it's been a reoccurring struggle throughout all of this, issues with the ex, issue with the kids, just dealing with the stress and the anxiety of all of this on a reoccurring basis is really frustrating. And fundamentally, it can seem like there's always something right around the corner. And in the early stages of this, it's a little bit more pronounced because there is a lot of stuff around the corner. I mean, pretty much they're modifying their tactics on a regular basis, and they're trying to find different techniques and ways to manipulate the situation in their favor. I know for me, whenever I was going through this, and every time I thought that I would get over a hurdle, or something would start to change, or there would be some type of improvement, or I would just start feeling better about the situation, it seemed like there was something new that was always coming up. And it would either be from stuff the ex was doing, or it could be anything from not sharing information or just a bunch of different things. Now some of it was a little bit more overt. I mean, it was like not paying the medical bills and getting that. Being turned into child support services for being behind on child support, even though the state was taking the money out. There was always something that happened. Now, for the long time, I actually thought, or it seemed, and I think this is basically true, that she had this grab bag of retaliation events that she could do. And that's pretty much what was happening the first little bit. It seems like every time I turned around, there was some type of manipulation of the process or what was going on or how it was going that, pretty much felt like a slap to the face every time I turned around. Bottom line is we are all going to have victories. Some are going to be small, some are going to be big, but you have to look out for those victories. And that can be really tough when you're going through this because it seems like there's this constant barrage of BS that's being thrust upon you. Now, the other thing is those setbacks can also either occur directly because of your ex, or they can be when your kids are used as surrogates or used as pawns or manipulated against you. And I've seen that in my own situation, and I've seen that a lot with different people who've shared their story with me, where they think they're making progress, they think things have stabilized, they think that they've gotten over the latest hump, only to be blindsided by some new incident. Now, the really tough ones are when they come from your kids. Whenever you think that you're making progress, and your kids are basically the ones that pull the rug out from underneath you and come up with something, new and exciting to throw into the mix. Now, I had that early on when my kids initially were pushing that they didn't want to go to the school that they were going to. They wanted to go to school next to where they lived. And it was all comments that were coming from their mom. Once I thought I had that under control, the next thing is I had my kids, basically my two younger ones. My oldest never did this, but they wanted to be homeschooled. They're like, you know what? We want to be homeschooled. And I remember one conversation just clearly with my middle daughter, who's really into school, really, has her future planned out, has things she wants to do. I'm not saying anything's wrong with homeschool, but under the dynamic and the fact that I know my ex can't do that, that's what happened is I had to take my daughter to her mom's to pick something up. They were in there, she was in her mom's house for a really long time. She comes skipping out of the house, my daughter, not my ex, jumps in the car and is all excited and says, "Mommy respects my decision." Now, I'm sure if any of you have dealt with that phrase of, the other parent respects the decision, you already know what's coming. You already know that there's manipulation going on. And your child is basically validating something that your ex wants to do. And of course, they're going to respect that decision because it benefits them. And that decision was to be homeschooled. And I think the way it came across is initially, the first part of it is, mommy respects my decision. I'm like, oh, really, honey? What decision is that? And it's not to go to the school that we're going to. And I'm like, well, you're not going to school in our city. You're not going to these schools. Like, oh, no, I know that. We're not going to do that. I'm going to be homeschooled. And I'm like, really? And who's going to be your teacher? Mommy will be, mommy will be my teacher. So that is a not so subtle way that your ex is able to basically plant bombs in your house. So the thing is, one thing you can really count on is that your ex lives in chaos and drama, and they're going to do everything to continue that. And it's really kind of hard for us because when things calm down, you start to think that things have calmed down, that that they've gotten tired of playing these stupid games, especially with our kids, that it'll stop. The thing you have to understand is that it isn't going to stop. They can't stop. It's the area that they live. They live in this drama and chaos, and they always are trying to win. They're always trying to get the kids to pick them, to smear you, or have people basically side with them. They don't stop. All right, now, this might sound a little bleak, but what ends up having to change is the way we look at our victories, the way we process a situation, and the way we kind of gauge how things are going. Now, I've talked in the past about, you really look with how your kids are when they're with you. That's a really good indication of what's going on. Now, granted, whenever your kids aren't with you and then they try to throw some drama into your environment because they've been manipulated, that's really tough. And it's really hard to get around. And, if our children are turned, all we can do at the end of the day is the best that we can. We can try to learn as much as we can. You can try to mitigate the damage, but there's significant BS going on that's going to continue to go on. So that's the issue here, is that, in the end, there's no guarantee that what we're doing is going to work, right? I do believe that making some really positive change in your life and working on the relationships with our kids and making a chaos-free environment and trying to create an environment to where they feel comfortable talking to you is going to go a long way. But at the end of the day, it might not be enough. And I don't want to give anybody false hope that this situation is going to be, rosy, follow these techniques and everything will be great. Follow these techniques and things will be better. But at the end of the day, you don't really know what's going to happen. Your kids are ultimately going to make the decision that, they have to make. And the last thing I want to leave you on this is, if you're having a backslide, please do not look at it as a catastrophic failure. If something happens or it seems like something's starting to slip down or backslide down the hill, take a breath, take a pause, take an objective look at the situation. I completely understand that you can get to the point where you just are like, F it, I don't want to do this anymore. I understand that. I've had my struggles with that in the past as well. But as I've said on a lot of this whole process is relatively slow. Nothing generally becomes a crisis, a legitimate crisis, time-sensitive crisis, that something has to happen immediately. So utilize those gaps in time. Utilize the fact that things don't change in an instant to really think about what's going on. All right, so I'm going to wrap this video up. Hopefully that wasn't too depressing. I think that if we keep things slow and methodical, there's a good chance to persevere through this. Now I get that the ex is going to continue with, our ex is going to continue with their shenanigans and their inception ideas and their techniques to try to manipulate our kids and the situation. But just by us remaining calm and focused and steadfast and giving attention and to our kids. So if you're having a situation with that and you want to talk about it, leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you like the channel, please subscribe. If you haven't gone over to the Dad Surviving Divorce website and signed up for the newsletter, check that out. Plus, I've done some updates to it, so you can go to www.dadsurvivingdivorce.com, and I will chat with you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.